How's it going, everyone? Welcome into Earth Nerd. I just wanted to start off this video by kind of saying that there might be a few random cuts and stuff changed with this video because this was filmed before the passing of Jason David Frank, a Power Rangers legend, and so we decided to push back the video a bit. We also decided, because we actually talked for quite a while on this subject, we decided to split it up into two parts. So you might hear us mention some things that will actually be in the second part, which will actually be coming out on Wednesday. So yeah, I just wanted to do this kind of like update real quick in front of the video because we filmed this quite a bit in advance. We filmed all our videos like way in advance, so just figured I should let you all know why things might be a little bit changed. And yeah, enjoy the video. Thank you all so much for watching.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back into Earth Nerd, where we talk about everything going on in nerd and geek culture. I am Bryce West alongside Corbin Shanklin. So this is actually going to be a really cool video. We're going to be talking about what how new fans should get into Power Rangers, and this is I think going to be a really cool video because Power Rangers has been going on for 30 years, and so there's a lot of content there, almost 1,000 episodes. So that could be pretty daunting to people. And Corbin is actually somebody who historically has not been super into Power Rangers, or even we're going to talk a little bit about Super Sentai today. So I thought this would be a great way to introduce them to the franchise, as well as any new fans who um who might be looking to get into it as well. So Corbin, just kind of I had Corbin watch the first four episodes of Dino Fury, the first two episodes of In Space, the first four episodes of Power Rangers RPM,
I did
and
I did
then
five.
five
Yeah.
episodes of RPM.
Yeah.
And then the first five of Chojin Sentai Jetman.
Yes, sir.
So before we get into specifics, what were your thoughts of like just the episodes that you watch overall?
So, in general, I had a lot of fun, getting started with Power Rangers. I guess I should lead by saying I'd seen like a little bit of Power
Right.
Rangers and read a
Yeah.
few comic books, so it wasn't like I was going into this completely cold. But this
Yeah.
is such a massive franchise with so many different angles, so many different seasons. And like if you like we've done here include Sentai, it's like twice as big, probably more than
Yeah,
that.
well, more, yeah, because
Yeah.
Super Sentai's on season 46,
Oh my God.
and
Wow.
and we're getting ready to go on to 30. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, I thought that these shows were pretty entertaining. There's definitely some cheesiness and like formulaicness, but I knew
Yeah.
that and I was expecting that. And I think if you want to get into this franchise, like know what you're signing up for, right?
Mhm.
Because if you're expecting some like grim, mature, like you can go watch that one fan film on YouTube. Like that's
Yeah.
not that's not really the energy. They're fun, they're lighthearted, but they had like some solid emotional beats. The action sequences were engaging. I love watching them suit up pretty much every time.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I thought the shows were tight. But yeah, that was my overall kind of
Cool.
feeling on it.
So to start off for today, we're gonna kind of be discussing Dino Fury. So I had Corbin watch a few episodes of Dino Fury, which is of course is the most recent incarnation of the show, and it's going to be the first batch of Power Rangers seasons to actually keep the same cast for a third season since Mighty Morphin Power Rangers,
Oh
which is
wow.
really, really, really cool. I think that really speaks to the quality of the show and the quality of the cast. It's seriously one of my favorite casts of all time, if not my favorite cast of all time. And I don't think this is just recency bias. I mean, Dun Fury season 2 has been out for a while now, season 29 of the show overall, and I am still just absolutely in love with these characters and the story that they were able to tell. So, Corbin, what were your thoughts on the first few episodes of Dino Fury?
So I quite enjoyed Dino Fury. I was a little bit skeptical of it at first because you're introduced to Amelia, who becomes the Pink Ranger, and she works for like Buzz Blast, which I immediately was like, So one of the Rangers works for BuzzFeed in this show.
Yeah.
All right, kind of strange.
Yeah.
But pretty quickly, they got into the story of it. We met Ollie, whose mother's like an archaeologist. He's kind of this spunky, nerdy guy. He becomes the Blue Ranger. And I did have a question for you. I was going to hold my
Yeah.
questions to the end real quick. So when we learn about the backstories of the Rangers in the show, they talk about the Morphin Masters and like
Yeah.
what. So I've seen like a little bit of Mighty Morphin. What's the connection there?
All
Like,
right.
what?
So that's actually a really great question.
Okay.
So the Morphin Masters appeared in one episode of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers in a throwaway line,
Okay.
and now they're here.
Got it.
So, so
Very cool.
they appeared a little bit in the comics too, but the comics, like once you get further in the Power Rangers universe comic book series, it's only 6 issues. Is kind of their full on explanation of the Morphin Masters, kind of. So the Morphin Masters are very confusing characters, and there isn't really a fully distinct explanation for. I mean, it Power Rangers universe is cool that they were able to explain a lot of these questions, but it was also very confusing even for people who have been fans since like 1993. So the Morphin Masters appeared in like episode 4 of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers in a throwaway, and it was like a flashback with a throwaway line from Zordon. And then they were never seen again until right now.
Until Dino Fury. Okay.
Yeah, and so they showed up in season 1, and then they came back in season 28. So
wow.
Yeah,
that's really cool. I think that just go ahead.
They are very important characters though.
Okay.
So,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah,
they're kind of, for lack of a better term, at least at this point in the show, they're kind of like the watchers of the Power Rangers universe.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, very cool. But yeah, I guess talking about the whole team of Dino Fury, the Black Ranger, Javi. He probably left the least impact on me in watching these different shows. It seems like there's always like a bad boy. Seems to be a staple of the franchise. And like we just didn't get a lot of time with him. I think he was just introduced in the last episode, maybe the last two of the first 4.
The green and black Rangers don't show up until episode 4.
Yeah. The Green Ranger, Izzy, I think, had a lot more characterization in the time that we got with them. And then she has this awesome scene when she suits up, and all of the female Rangers have had a skirt, and that was something funny that I noticed watching the other shows. And she immediately rips it off. I'm like, skirts aren't really my thing, and I thought that was really cool and made me excited to see where does she go from here.
Izzy is such a fun character that actually caused a lot of controversy in the fan base at the time.
Wow.
I'm not going to really go into that. I think it was a little ridiculous. Not her ripping off the skirt, but the backlash to it. We as Izzy's character goes on, she proves to be a very important character, not just in Power Rangers, but in the history of children's television. And what they continue to do with Izzy, even in season 2, holy cow! I mean, this isn't like. I guess I'll just go into it. So Izzy, and we've talked about this, goes on to be the first LGBTQ plus Ranger in the show. They've done a little bit in the movies and the comics, but in the actual show, she is the first one, at least in canon.
That's awesome.
And that is super, super cool. And this isn't just something that they've just done, just to have representation. I mean, they really they like have this relationship like continue and go forward. Like this isn't just like, oh hey, we said Izzy was gay, now let's move on. Like they actually we actually get to see her and her girlfriend throughout the show, and even see them have some relationship issues, which is not something we get a lot in Power Rangers. Usually if we have a relationship in Power Rangers, everything's perfect, everything's fine, but it's really cool to actually see them deal with like real issues. And because I mean, when you're dating a Power Ranger and you don't know they're a Power Ranger, that could probably be an issue.
Definitely.
I think that's something really cool that they actually explore down the line. And the way they did this, it didn't feel like pandering. It
Hmm.
felt like representation. And I feel like that's something a lot of shows and movies and whatever kinds of media today are really kind of struggle with is the difference between pandering and representation. And I think truly what Power Rangers did here was representation. And
Absolutely.
I thought that that was just so really cool. You brought up Javi. Yeah, I think he's probably the most
Like he could
well.
be cool, you know.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
I didn't feel like I got to know him in these
yeah.
first
Well,
few
I
episodes.
think what they eventually do stuff with Javi, but I think he probably gets the least amount of that stuff.
Hmm.
And then whenever you get to the Gold Ranger Ion, it's kind of the same, but he keeps doing the same lessons over and over again, which got kind of annoying to me. But yeah. So overall, like I definitely love the cast so far. What are your thoughts on some of the villains like Void Knight?
The Void Knight seemed really cool. I liked he had this weird kind of mad scientist energy
Mhm.
about him, like working in this like kind of
Yeah.
decrepit little dark gloomy lair.
Hmm.
And I'm just theorizing here, but it seems like maybe he was a ranger, like a fallen ranger or something like that from maybe as a
You know,
connection to Zato, because like the Red Ranger um is not like Amelia and Ollie and Izzy and Javi, like he's like 65 million years old or older
yeah,
and from
yeah,
space. So that
yeah,
added a cool, interesting other dimension. And yeah, with the Sporix are like the main, villain of the week, bad guys, the main
yes,
conflict they have to overcome right now. And yeah, I thought Mucus was a little annoying, but also she did make me laugh at parts. So like,
yeah.
she was hit or miss. And I really liked the idea that after they defeat them the second time, after they've got huge and they
Hmm.
revert back to their Sporix form, now they've got like more potential. It's like a super Sporix. Now I didn't actually see that play out, but that was like
Yeah,
Void Knight tried to, I don't know, recollect the Sporix after they'd been
yeah.
defeated for that purpose. So that was a cool setup that I'd like to see paid off when I watch more
It
of the show.
is super cool what they end up doing it. I will just say that Void Knight does definitely have a backstory. It is very tragic.
Okay.
And it is really cool to see play out. You don't really get to see. I mean, we keep getting it teased throughout the whole show, but we don't really get to see the full culmination of it until the end of the second season. But what they end up doing with it was jaw dropped down to the floor, shocking, which
Okay.
isn't very often that happens in Power Rangers, where I'm going like, you know,
That's awesome.
yeah, I mean, as the show goes on, it can get a little predictable, but then there's also other elements of it that you don't expect.
Okay.
Yeah, that was really cool to get to see play out. And definitely if you continue to watch the show, that's something to definitely look out for. I'd say Void Knight is probably one of the most important characters for the story of Dino Fury. So
Yeah, I would say of the four I watched, Dino Fury and Chojin Sentai Jetman are the two I'm most interested in continuing. But yeah, I guess my
okay.
my final thought on Dino Fury is just going back to what you were saying about like representation versus pandering. As a queer person, like I always want to see, different people like myself on screen.
Yeah.
But like anyone who is actually interested in that knows when a studio is checking a box. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And it's awesome to hear that your experience with Izzy and that character was one that was inspirational and groundbreaking. I think I saw like it won a GLAAD award or
Yes,
something
it
when I
did.
was looking
That's
on
true.
Wikipedia.
Yeah,
So yeah, hats off to Dino Fury for taking that step for as representation. I think that's super cool and definitely an incentive to keep going just to see where the Green Ranger goes.
for sure.
And also because I honestly didn't realize, so Cosmic Fury is a continuation of this.
Yes. So
I
that
didn't
is
even
going to
know
be
that. Okay,
so that's going to be like the third season of Dino Fury. Yeah, and it picks up
gotcha.
exact so Dino Fury left on a pretty big cliffhanger. And then Cosmic Fury is going to pick up from that. So
Very cool.
oddly enough, this is kind of a little bit of a sidebar, that they had no idea that they're going to be picked up for another season, whatever they filmed that ending,
Yeah.
according to Simon Bennett, the showrunner. So they just filmed that ending and we're like hoping for the best. So
Wow.
like so luckily they got renewed because man, the outrage that would have happened if that was the end of the entire show.
Hmm.
Whew, man, that would have been yikes.
Well,
But luckily we're getting Cosmic Fury. I think that is going to be really cool. The cool thing about that is that well, kind of cool is that it's going to be only 10 episodes, but that also means like no filler.
hmm.
So there's like no time to mess around. So I'm hoping that means that they're going to put together a really, really cool, well crafted, put together story. Also, pretty much the entire Mighty Morphin Power Rangers cast is coming back. So that is going to be
Wow.
really, really cool. All right, so moving on to Power Rangers in Space. This is also a very important season in the franchise. This was the sixth season overall of the show, and this was kind of like the culmination of the overarching story that was introduced in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So they kind of had like a 6 season story arc. Different cast members were coming in throughout, but overall the story that began with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers kind of has a really nice conclusion in this one. So it might be kind of weird on the outside to start with this one because it's the end of a story arc, but I think also it takes aspects of Mighty Morphin but then just like improves on everything. I think this is kind of the best version of all of the shows or all of the seasons that were leading up to this. I think there are definitely a lot of aspects of Mighty Morphin that are still here. Like even some of the cast members return at some point. But also uh I don't think Corbin ever got to this point, but they do actually go back to Angel Grove sometimes and have Andrews go to high school.
Oh,
And,
wow.
and so that storyline did not last long because it does not work. But but I thought that was pretty funny. So, but honestly, this season works whenever it's doing something new and it's doing something different. We've this takes place right after the events of Power Rangers Turbo. We keep most of the same cast from that, and these characters are at their best in this season, which I thought was really cool. But I think if you're looking for classic Power Rangers, but also aren't ready for the complete whacked out cheese that is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, because I very consciously did not include Mighty Morphin Power Rangers in this because I do not think it's a great place for new people to start. But I think if you're looking for somebody to watch a classic Power Rangers season, In Space is the perfect one to start off with.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed the older feeling of this one. I mean, it's good several years than either of the other Power Rangers. Several years older than the other shows that I watched. And Mighty Morphin is like that franchise is the franchise I have the most familiarity with beforehand. So like seeing Rita Repulsa, for example,
Yeah,
like that was a lot of fun. Seeing what's his name? Alpha?
Lord said or Alpha, yeah.
Yeah, Lord Zed too. But Alpha was so funny to me because I have to imagine they had to recast for some reason
Okay, so
because with
this is technically
it's
Alpha.
played well though.
Yeah, this is technically Alpha 6.
Okay,
So the first one was Alpha 5, and then Alpha
gotcha.
5 left with Zordon to go to Eltar
Hmm.
during Turbo, and then he was replaced with Alpha 6, who started rapping.
Okay.
And then it was like yo like Power Rangers whatever, and then the fans hated it, and so
Hmm.
that's why at the beginning of this they fix his voice chip or whatever,
Got it.
and because they were replacing the rapping Alpha. With,
That's the best possible explanation to the voice chip scene. That's
yeah,
so funny.
but yeah, and basically a lot of In Space because Turbo almost canceled the show.
Hmm.
It was not good. And so a lot of this is kind of like them reacting to Turbo.
Hmm.
And honestly, I think what the things that they chose to react to from Turbo were good changes, especially the alpha voice. So
Yeah, I
but
didn't
yeah,
even know about rapping Alpha, man. That is too good.
Yeah, Power Rangers Turbo was a fever dream to say the least.
Yeah, but you can definitely see that this is a legacy show from just the first two episodes. Like the overarching plot is them going to save Zordon. Um, so four of the Rangers, the black, yellow, blue, and pink Rangers, like don't have their powers at the beginning. I guess they lost them at the end of
Yeah.
Turbo.
Yeah,
And
well at
then
the end of Turbo, the Power Rangers are defeated.
gotcha.
And then they go up into space, and then yeah.
But then they meet this like Red Ranger from space named Andros, and Andros was like a little bit too brooding for me, but it was also my favorite part of the show because of the simple question: what happened to the rest of his team? And I'm making an assumption that he had one, but like I want to know where that goes. That's a really cool setup.
About that, so they never explain that in the okay, they explain a little bit in the show.
Okay.
But for the full context, you have to read the comics.
Okay.
But
I mean,
yeah.
I'm okay with that. You know,
Yeah.
I love like I think of Boba Fett, for example, seeing Black Chrysanthemum, a comic book character, come over to a TV show. I love to see franchises do that kind of multimedia intermingling. So I'm good with that. But good to know. Absolutely.
But they do explain one member of his team, but the rest don't get explained until like a few months ago in the comics. So
fascinating. That's very curious.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the other biggest takeaway for me was I really liked TJ. Kind of seeing him step into this leader position, but as the Blue Ranger, because like mentally I'm primed to think the red or I guess green is always the leader, like not blue.
Well, red is typically the leader.
That's usually how it goes.
In Turbo, TJ was the Red Ranger, but now he's coming into this with someone else's leader.
Oh, okay. Very cool. Very cool. I didn't know that.
So there's a little bit of an adjustment thing. Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely watching in space was it was a fun time. Maybe not quite as impactful as Dino Fury or a couple of the other ones, but it also makes me, excited to dive further into those first 6 seasons, and because of how they're connected in a way that some of the other later series are not. So yeah, I liked In Space, and I would definitely recommend give it a watch. It's cool, weird, funny show.
I think with most of these, you're really able to get the only thing with In Space that I think like with the beginning, like only having you watch the first 2 episodes, is that In Space is like I think the only one out of the 3 that you really don't get a full grasp of what the show fully is within the first few episodes. Like a lot of like the major like overarching storylines of In Space don't happen until like halfway through.
Yeah.
And then the reasons why people are so in love with In Space like are those storylines.
It's kind of a slow burn sort of thing.
Yeah, and also back then they had way more episodes. I think In Space is around like over 40 episodes.
Oh wow.
Just in one season. So yeah, like the early seasons had a lot of like the first season Mighty Morphin was the season 1 was 60 episodes.
Oh my god.
Just only season 1.
That's insane.
Yeah. So yeah, they used to do some really long seasons back in the day, which meant it took a while to get to some of the storylines, which I think is a little bit of a knock against the classic seasons, because you do really have to like dive like all the way in to be able to get to the really cool stuff. But yeah, In Space is really cool. Has probably the best ending of any of the Power Ranger shows. Dino Fury actually comes really close, but so it's a toss up between those 2.
Thank you all so much for watching part 1 of this Where to Start Power Rangers video. We will be continuing this on Wednesday by going over Power Rangers RPM and Shoten Sentai Jetman. Stay tuned for more.